welcome to Lambeau Cast Season 1, Episode 5. In this episode, our main story is that Geno Smith has been traded to the Las Vegas Raiders from the Seattle Seahawks. So this happened about a week ago, before the free agency period, rather. So under immense pressure to find a solution to their continuing problems at quarterback, the Las Vegas Raiders have reached a deal with the Seattle Seahawks to acquire 11-year veteran quarterback Geno Smith. Smith has been in the league since 2013, playing with the Jets, Giants, Chargers, and finally Seattle. In his first season as starter in Seattle after the departure of Russell Wilson in 2021, Smith had a breakout year, recording a 69.8% completion percentage while throwing for 4,282 yards, with 30 touchdowns compared to 11 interceptions, which is quite good. And this led to an overall team record of 9-8-0. This performance earned Smith the AP Comeback Player of the Year for 2022 and a playoff berth against the San Francisco 49ers, which they ended up losing 23-41, with Smith performing pretty well during that game. Smith has been named to 2 Pro Bowls during his tenure with Seattle in 2023 and 2024, respectively. The Raiders are clearly looking for stability at the quarterback position with Smith, something that has been lacking in the organization for a great deal of time. In addition to both new coaching with Pete Carroll, Smith's former head coach in Seattle, as well as new owner Tom Brady working to steer a team in 2025, Smith appears to have a pretty good chance at being successful during his time with the Raiders. Smith going to the Raiders does not necessarily mean the Raiders will not select a quarterback in the 2025 draft in Green Bay, but this move allows them some stability in the short term. It makes sense to me if the Raiders selected a quarterback in the draft, like first round or whatever, and then allowed them to sit behind Smith in a backup role for a few years before promoting them to a starter, likely around the same time as Smith, since he's been in the league since 2013. This is his 12th year in the league, so, a couple more years, and, that'll be his 15th year in the league, so it might be time for him to either retire or move on to another team, who knows, and then at that point, the Raiders would likely promote that quarterback that they drafted to the starting role. Another option for the Raiders is they look for a star player and put him in as number one, and then have Smith behind them. But based off of the amount that they're paying Smith, I don't really think that makes a ton of sense to have him be a backup or like a mentor for this person that they would draft. DK Metcalf has also been signed to a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers within the past couple weeks in exchange for a second-round pick in the 2025 draft, as well as Seattle and the Steelers swapping their 6th and 7th round picks in that same draft. Metcalf's contract with the Steelers is 5 years, $150 million, which is quite a lot of money for somebody that they're not sure is going to be healthy in 4 years or 5 years. Metcalf had a 6-season career in Seattle, starting in 2019 up until the present, playing a total of 97 games. You can view some of his stats on the Lambeau Talk website. Especially as Metcalf continues to age, he becomes much more prone to injury, something that currently he hasn't dealt with much, but as players age, it is typical for them to start to experience a greater number of injuries. According to DraftSharks.com, Metcalf has a 31.1% chance of injury occurring in the upcoming 2025 season, with injury being defined as the chance that a player misses more than 2 quarters of a game. So that would equate to about 0.8 games missed for the season. In other news this week, Davante Adams has signed with the Los Angeles Rams to replace Cooper Kupp, who was released earlier this week. An unsurprising move. The Rams have released wide receiver Cooper Kupp after 8 years with the team, a Super Bowl 56 win, and a Super Bowl 56 MVP, and AP Offensive Player of the Year. Throughout his last few years with the Rams, Kupp experienced a great deal of injuries related to his ankle, especially during the 2024 season. suffering multiple ankle injuries, missing a total of 5 games in the 2023 season. Kupp also missed 4 games, so it's probable that the Rams chose to release him in favor of healthier wide receiver. In this case, the Rams chose to acquire former New York Jets wide receiver Davante Adams during the free agency period, signing him for a 2-year, $44 million contract with the team. And Cooper Kupp is going to Seattle for 3 years and $45 million. We will see. I think that's probably, if he continues to have injuries at his current rate, I feel like that's probably going to be a bit of an overpay, because he's definitely, if he misses 3, 4, 5 games a year with injuries, I don't think that's worth it. And especially, who knows, in 3 years is something else gonna crop up that's either worse, or a worse injury, or something else that makes that amount of money an overpay for the quality of play they're getting. But who knows. And then the other couple big trades for this week, Sam Darnold to the Seattle Seahawks for 3 years, $100 million. And in terms of my thoughts on that one, I think that one is probably a decent trade. $100 million is a lot of money, obviously. Not so much anymore, but $33.3 million a year, 3 years, which is decent. It's not an overly long contract. It's not 5, 6 years. The only thing that gives me pause with that is, when he was in Minnesota, it seemed like he struggled against teams that had really good defenses. Playing the Lions, he seemed like he struggled. Playing the Rams, he seemed like he struggled, and he looked like he was playing with the Jets again. Like, he looked like, he looked somewhat unprepared and like scared almost when he was trying to throw, and he threw a bunch of interceptions in that Rams game. And then the other major news, other couple ones, Justin Fields to the New York Jets for 2 years, $40 million contract. That's also a pretty good trade right there. I would say it's not an overpay. $40 million is decent. And Fields is a pretty good running quarterback, which is good for the Jets, since their offensive line definitely still needs some work. So, unlike Rodgers, who was more of a pocket presence and, would stay in the pocket and throw, Fields, is more mobile and can run, more than Rodgers could, and is definitely a lot younger, which should help, prevent more injuries from occurring. And then Daniel Jones to the Indianapolis Colts for 1 year, $14 million. That's a good trade. Essentially, just having competition with the current quarterback in there, or as a backup, but who knows. And DK Metcalf, as we had talked about before, and Cooper Kupp to Seattle. All right, thank you for listening to this week's episode of Lambeau Cast. Sorry, it's a little bit shorter than it would normally be. I'm on vacation this week, so didn't have a bunch of time to collect all the news. Hopefully next week will be a longer episode. Thanks for listening. See you next week.